In the 1960s, the nation's understanding of itself and its relationship with the world was changing. Immigration policy debate and reform would culminate with the Immigration and Naturalization Act of 1965. On the campus of George Washington University, a small but mighty group of law students created AYUDA PARA EL CONSUMIDOR to assist immigrants with their legal cases. The 70s saw an influx of immigrants from Latin America, the Caribbean, and Asia. In 1973, AYUDA incorporated as a nonprofit to provide general civil legal services to these immigrants in Washington, D.C.
When I was hired, I was told by the board of directors, there's no staff, there's no money, there's no volunteers, there's no place, there's no location. We have nothing. But we made it happen. The community came together and they made this dream, this idea.
The 80s ushered in efforts in Washington to aid refugees fleeing violence in Central America, while the federal government also shifted policy towards undocumented residents. Through these moments, AYUDA was on the front line providing legal support to those who needed it most, working with pro bono attorneys.
In early 1987, I was chairing the D.C. Bar's Public Service Activities Committee. Congress had just passed the 1986 Immigration Reform and Control Act, which allowed for legalization of individuals who had been in the United States for a certain period of time. And we realized that there was going to be a tremendous need for additional legal resources to help those individuals. So we decided to pair up law firms with organizations. And my law firm, Arnold & Porter, decided to work with AYUDA. It was a wonderful experience for all of the attorneys involved. It was very helpful to AYUDA, and it certainly was helpful to the individuals who needed assistance in navigating the legalization process.
The 1990s introduced reforms that would impact immigrants and AYUDA's work for decades to come, with the first major overhaul of the U.S. legal immigration system in a quarter century. And for the first time, our nation recognized domestic violence and sexual assault as crimes in federal legislation. AYUDA brought the voices of immigrant survivors into this national conversation.
I founded Clinical Legal Latina at AYUDA, which was the first program in the District of Columbia and one of the first in the country to offer holistic legal services to immigrant survivors of domestic violence, child abuse, sexual assault, and human trafficking. In the early 90s, we co-founded the National Network to End Violence Against Immigrant Women with the goal of trying to impact the Violence Against Women Act and make sure that immigrants and women of color were covered in the bill. And we created a network that collaborated and negotiated with the Republicans and the Democrats to create VAWA self-petitioning as part of that bill.
Using lessons that I had learned from organizing initiatives in Mexico, we started the Hermanas Unidas program. It's evolved and changed. AYUDA was able to hire psychologists and therapists, and the members have taken on other challenges. But it really reaffirms for me that AYUDA was the right place, the stable place, the place willing to do something innovative and different.
The new millennium saw AYUDA introduce groundbreaking initiatives and expand its reach. With federal attention on trafficking victims, AYUDA launched programs to provide both legal and social services to survivors of human trafficking.
Back in November 2000, I came to AYUDA as a survivor, and they helped me to get my working permit, then green card, and became American citizen. And now I own a business in Virginia, a home health care.
In the early 2000s, AYUDA saw an opportunity to introduce a language program alongside its legal and social services to provide more holistic support scaffolding, and grew further by opening a Virginia office.
It was 2007, and the DC area had over 1 million immigrants and was struggling to make sure that they had access to legal services. So I came to AYUDA to start the Community Legal Interpreter Bank to meet that need. It was the first interpreter bank of its kind in the country, and it all started here at AYUDA.
In the next decade, against the backdrop of congressional inaction, increasing polarization, and heightened anti-immigrant rhetoric, AYUDA's comprehensive service model expanded. A major effort to assist victims of immigration legal services fraud was introduced. By the end of the decade, a third location in Maryland had opened.
AYUDA has helped me through challenges dealing with my becoming a citizen. Being under the wings of AYUDA and the guidance of their teams made it very easy for me. So I'm very grateful, thankful for AYUDA.
When COVID upended the world, the most susceptible in our communities were hit the hardest. AYUDA quickly adapted to provide all its services remotely and expand its emergency response program to provide critical needs such as nutrition, clothing, and financial assistance.
AYUDA has expanded greatly over the last 50 years. We've grown the organization to serving 5,000 immigrants each year. We have 3 locations where we provide services, a staff of 90, and more than 100 volunteers that are supporting our work. Looking to the future, AYUDA is excited to expand our impact by incorporating immigrant voices into the political conversation and launching our advocacy program.
I've had the good fortune of serving in many different roles at AYUDA as a staff attorney, community organizer, volunteer, board member, donor, and I can say from all of these vantage points that I believe that AYUDA at 50 years continues to be the stable and supportive place that our immigrant community in the DMV deserves.
Over the last 35 years, I've worked with AYUDA on many projects. I strongly encourage everyone to get involved in some way. You can do so by being a volunteer. You can contribute. You can make a difference. You can save a life.
You give us hope.
For 50 years, AYUDA has supported individuals and families with no other place to go, and we ask that you join us.